Hello! Fancy seeing you here! This next tune is going out to Hisashi. Long-time patron supporter. It's fair to say that Hisashi is obsessed with this song. He's been asking for it for ages. Sorry it's taken so long, but I wanted to wrap it all up with the whole album. So thank you for your patience. Now some of you may well be thinking, you've skipped Sirens. That's the 4th track. You've moved straight on to number 5. But fear not. I did Sirens ages ago, so I think I'll pop a link up here or down there. So click wherever to find Sirens. But we are moving on to track 5 in our Lightning Bolt Fandango. Now sound-wise I'm going for a fairly medium overdrive, so what you can do is just notch the volume down a little bit. And you'll get a bit closer to any sound, and then for the bigger bits you can just whack the volume up. Or if you've got loads of pedals, then set one to less overdrive, and then maybe do a little boost for the next bit. Up to you. Okay, I'm going to run through the intro section once so you can hear it in its entirety, and then we'll break it down into chunks. Okay, let's have a listen. Okay, so that's 1 times round. So you just repeat that whole section around. So now a note on how this is played. It's palm muted. So you can hear it's not going. So meat of hand, karate chop to the bridge. Now the whole of this intro section is 8th notes. So you're always going to be playing the first 2 bars are literally just that. And then Eddie starts to add the kind of motif over the top. So you're still palm muting that A. But you need to angle your hand so that you can still get a bit of palm muting going there. Can you hear that the higher notes are ringing out a bit more? They're not ringing out. I'm not doing that. It's quite subtle. So because your hands will naturally move, and I don't know if you can see this actually, but when I'm picking, your hand will actually come up off the D string ever so slightly. Just enough to make that ring out a little bit. Okay, so that's how you get the feel of it. So the other thing that you need to do is when you finger each note, so if I take that in isolation, I'm playing, I'm not keeping my finger held down on each of those parts. So I'm not playing, I'm playing. And to do that, all I'm doing is pressing down for that 8th note and the 8th note only. Okay, so as soon as I depress my finger, so look, let me see if I can show you that very, very closely. But if you can see my finger, it's playing. So you're applying pressure to the fretboard for the note, for that 8th note only, and then you just lift it up ever so slightly, but you keep your finger in position. So if you were to try and play the note while you're resting, it would be like that. So you'd hear. Okay, so that's what you should hear. Now I am labouring that a little bit, but I'm going into detail on this one, Hisashi, so you can nail this bad boy. Okay, so after those 2 bars, you're going to play this. Okay, so that's the first phrase. 11, 12 and 14 on the D string, okay? Okay, so let me slow that right down. So you kind of have to forget about the A string. Okay, so that again slowly. Then you play the same rhythm for the next part, which is 12, 14, 16 on the D string. Now on the album, because I've done it as he's played it, there is an extra 12th note there, so you'll actually play. Okay, so there's 2 at the end there rather than not an extra one there. Extra one there. Okay, so that's slowly. Then you go round the first phrase again. But at that point you play. Okay, so there's a slight variation. So you're going to play. Okay, so slowly that phrase is. And then you're down to the 7th fret and the 4th fret, okay, so. Okay, so that rhythm again slowly. And then you're back round again. Okay, so the next riff is a beauty. Go get your Pete Townsend outfit on. So the first one is just both A chords. So if you play that with your first finger, you should be able to get. And then you put your little finger on the 5th fret to cover the B and the E string, okay? So it's going to be. So. Then you play the D. Now to play the D, it might be a bit of a stretch to get up to the 5th fret. But for the D chord, you play. But you're just putting your little finger on the 5th fret on the E string there. You're not covering the B string as well, okay? Otherwise it would sound a bit weird. So I find the D easier to play if you bank your first finger on the 2nd fret, then add your 2nd finger to the 3rd fret on the B string. Oh, it's easier. Okay, then you're into the kind of pre-chorus riff, I guess, so that goes. So that is just an A chord, a D chord and a C chord. Now I think Eddie plays this. When he's playing, but I think the other guys just play. Okay, so same riff, just slightly different positions. So for Eddie's, it's slowly. Now I'm muting the D string with my finger there. I'm not playing. You can play the C chord one or two ways. I wouldn't add the your little finger to the E string on the 3rd fret there. Kind of muting that with the a bit of my 3rd finger. So I would either play like this, where you're muting the D string with a bit of meat from this one, and the E string with a bit of meat from this one. Okay. Or you can play it with your first finger on the 2nd fret on the D string. Okay? And then you're going to just use an open D chord. Pretty straightforward. The other guys are just playing power chords. Now the next part, important to watch the fingering on this one. Alright, so that's pretty straightforward as well, but it's an A chord to a D to a C. Okay? And you're going to play quite a lot of this Who type. So that slowly is. Okay, so you're playing. Okay, so that riff slowly is 2 there, 2 there, 1 on the C. Now, I would fret this using my first finger and my 4th finger, okay? Because Eddie plays quite a quick movement from the G to the C. So it's now, if you're fretting it using 3 fingers, you've got to move all 3 fingers down 1 string, back up 1 string, down 1 string, okay, like that. Which you can do, but it's loads easier if you fret it like this. Now my 4th finger is fretting the D, G and B. Now if you have a look at how my finger is positioned there, so that is the C chord, okay? Now to go to the G chord, I basically just move the position of my hand by rolling my hand forward slightly. So my first finger is now fretting the G on the E string, okay? But all I need to do to make the G chord now is to just add my finger there. And I'm only playing the top 3 notes of this chord anyway, so I'm playing this one, and this one. This finger is still flat, okay? Okay, that hopefully makes sense, but let me run through it slowly. So it's... So you'll see my arm moving like that, or you'll see my elbow probably moving, but that's how I'm playing that. Now Mike plays some octaves over the top of that riff just before he goes into his little solo, and those go like this. And then you're into the solos, etc. So, back to the octaves. So you're going to play, starting on the 7th fret, 3 there, and then you slide up to the 12th fret. Okay, and then you're going to play another 12th fret, so down to the 10th. Okay, so that little bit. And then you play 9, 10, slide down to 9, okay? So that whole bit so far. Alright, that's the first bit. And the second time round, he goes to the 7th fret octave slightly earlier. It's an 8th note earlier, basically, okay? So it's going to sound like this. Okay, so it goes slightly earlier than, it's not played on the beat. It's literally 1 quaver or 8th note before the beat. Okay, and then you're going to play 2 down there, back up to the 12th fret, down to the 10th, and then you play a little ascending run which goes, so yeah, 9th fret, 10th fret, slide up to 12. Okay, so that second part is. Then you go around the first part again. Okay, slowly again that is. And the last time is, which is E. Then you move down to the E string and play the 5th fret and the 3rd fret, which is A to G. Right, because this is Hisashi, he likes the whole solo. I'm going through the whole solo for you, buddy. Here we go. Now, behind the solo is this. Okay, so solo, pretty straightforward actually, but it's very effective. You just got to watch out for the slides to get it fluid, really. Okay, so the first part. Okay, you could also play that if you wanted to, but it just gets tricky when you go to do that bit. And I think Mike does play it in this position. So, so those two notes are fretted. Then you're going to hammer on to the 7th fret and slide up to the 10th fret. Okay, we're on the D string here. Okay, so. And then you slide back down to the 7th fret, okay? So you're not actually aiming for that note to play it when you come back, it's just to return to the position to do it again, okay? So slowing it down, it goes. Okay, then the next phrase is. And that is a pull-off. Then you pick the 7th fret and slide up to the 10th and slide back down. And then there's this pull-off and hammer on again. So. Okay, so that last bit is. So you're only picking the last bit, which is. Then you go. So that is a hammer on and a slide up to the 10th fret. Then you do the same phrase, but 7, 10, 12. Then back to 10. That very slowly. Then you play that around again. So let me play that whole phrase through slowly. Fluff that last bit up, but never mind. So then after you've played 2 of those, you're going to go into this phrase. So a full bend on the 7th fret. Then you're going to play double stops on the, so your first finger's on the 5th fret, on the B and E strings. So, don't sustain the bend, so you don't play, you got to play it, and then it gets out of the way so that you can play those double stops. So, what you might need to do is bend, and then you kind of use part of your thumb or your hand to mute that G string. And then you play the double stops. So I'm muting it with my palm. I'm just lifting my hand up quite quickly, and then it's going back down again to play the double stops, okay? You might find that it just all happens unconsciously, but if it doesn't, then hopefully that will help. So that slowly is... So bend, 2 double stops, and again, and then bend, single double stop. Okay? Then you're going to play this, or if you want to use just your third finger, or if you want to use your third finger and your little finger. And all you do is you just push, it double stops again, you grab those and you just kind of pull them up, pretty much getting to the 8th fret. It's like a half step bend, okay? So you do that, and then you bend, release, pull off, okay? And then you're back onto the 7th fret with those double stops. So that really slowly is... Okay, pretty straightforward. And then there's another little lick at the end which goes... which is a full bend. We're on the G string here, so... So that is 3 bends, but the third one does a bend, release, pull off. Okay, so... And then Mike basically does just a slide right up to the 17th fret on the E string, okay? With that rhythm. Not a lot to say there, you just pick at the bottom and then very quickly slide up, okay? So you're not going to play... It's just a... Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. And then we are into this little breakdown riff. Now, the chords are... Okay, and then round again. So the other guitar is just arpeggiating those chords like this. And then you go around that again. You'll see in the tab, but the actual picking pattern is... Okay? So if these, if the D string is like 1 and the next 2 strings up are 2 and 3, it's 1, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 2. You repeat that again down here, which is a G major. Now I fret the next chord by just switching my fingers. So my third finger is going to go to the 4th fret on the G string, and my second finger comes over the top to play the 4th fret. Now you could just slide your third finger down 1 fret if you want. That's probably easier. But it's probably good practice to learn to go... And this last chord is like an F7 type chord, but with the E open. But you play that like this. Okay, so that's the only variation in the picking pattern, and that is... You could play the open E if you wanted. Up to you! And then you're into another kind of Who type bit, which is just a load of E chords. So it starts with this. And then you're back into that riff. So those chords very briefly: E, E sus fourth, sus fourth, and then you're just playing, just fretting it so it sounds a little bit fuller. Sounds. So you're not adding anything new. Same notes, just slightly different voicing. And then the 13th, so you put your little finger on the 3rd fret on the B string. So you get that kind of suspense, and then it's resolved back to the A nicely. So. And then you're back into that riff again. Now, none of the rest of the bits are any different, except there is a bit in the outro that Mike plays. Some okay, so and that repeats around twice, but at the end of the second one you just play rather than just the standard 7th note. Okay, so the first part is played on the G and B string. So 2, 3, 4, 1. So 10th, 9th, 14th, 14th. And then you move up to the 17th fret and play, which is 17th, 18th on the B and G respectively. And then you go up to the 17th fret on the E string. 19th fret on the G. Then back down. Stay on the 14th fret then. Down to the 7th. And the second time around it just plays. So that's where the that hammer-on comes in, or trill, which is a repeated hammer-on and pull-off. So must be practiced. Get your fingers all warmed up for that one. Thanks again for watching. Stay tuned because Infallible is coming up in just a few days. Oh yes! See you soon. Cheers. Bye bye.